So we already discussed scale factor when we were dealing with the sides of two shapes. So let's start talking about the scale factor of perimeter and area. So what if we have a 3x4 rectangle versus a 15x20 rectangle? What can I automatically identify if I'm going from rectangle A to rectangle B? I can automatically say that the scale factor going from A to B of my sides is equal to 5, correct? Well, we can check. To go from 3 to 15, 3 times 5 is 15, 4 times 5 is 20, so that works. So, to figure out the perimeter, let's solve. What is the perimeter of rectangle A? Well, 3, and if it's a rectangle, this side is also 3. 3 plus 3 is 6, plus 4 is 10, plus 4 is 14, and I'm just going to call that units. Perimeter of rectangle B, 15 plus, I don't know what I just did, 15 plus 15. As I take chunks out of the rectangle, 15 plus 15 is 30, plus 20 is 50, plus another 20 is 70. So I've got 70 units. So now I want to find out what in the world is the scale factor of the perimeter, and we're going to go from A to B again. What is the scale factor of the perimeter? Well, to figure that out, we need to make a ratio. So I'm going to make a ratio of my corresponding sides. Or sorry, we're dealing with perimeter. I'm going to make a ratio of my perimeters. Okay? So I'm going to put 70 on top because 70 is my larger perimeter. And I'm going from A to B, which is an enlargement, over 14. Well, 70 over 14, if I divide by, I don't know, let's figure out a number. 7. Good call with the 7. That gives me 70 divided by 7 is 10. 14 divided by 7 is 2. And 10 over 2 is 5. So the scale factor of my perimeter is 5. What do you notice? Let's go back. Apparently I'm not very good at this whole writing thing. What do you notice about my two scale factors? Scale factor of my sides is 5. Scale factor of my perimeter is 5. Cool. So that's just what I needed to know. Tells me that regardless of what shape I have, if I know that my two shapes have a scale factor, meaning that they're similar, like if I change this to 6 and 24, and I tell you that the scale factor in this case is 4, going from A to B, then the scale factor of the perimeter is also 4, going from A to B. Okay. The scale factor of your sides is always equal to the scale factor of your perimeter. Okay, you need to know this. This is very important. So let's look at another example. Let's say that I give you the following. Let's say that the scale factor, actually let's just make these up real quick. Let's go with, let's say that this is 3 by 4, and this is going to be 9 by 12. And again, we're going to call this A, and we're going to call this B. What's my scale factor, my sides, going from A to B? It's 3, which means the scale factor, my perimeter, going from A to B, is also 3. But what about the scale factor, my area? From A to B. What is that? Well, to figure that out, I need to figure out my areas. Well, how do I get the area of a rectangle? Length times width. In this case, it's 12 units squared, and that's very important that you keep your units squared when you're dealing with area. What about here? Here my area is 9 times 12, which is 108 units squared. So if I want to figure out the scale factor, my area from A to B, that means I have to take my areas. A to B is an enlargement, so the bigger number has to be on top, over 12. So 108 over 12, that was B. This is A. 108 divided by 12 is 9. So the scale factor, my area from A to B, is 9. How do we get there? How did we get there? Let's think about this. When I have sides, how do I measure my sides? Inches, feet, centimeters, millimeters, whatever. They're always in some sort of units. When I measure perimeter, how do I measure perimeter? Those are also in units. How do I measure area? Area is always measured in units squared, or square units. So, by that logic, if I have the scale factor my sides and I'm going from the same figure to the other figure, this is going to be equal to scale factor my perimeter, because they're both just units. But what about the scale factor my area? What about the scale factor my area? Those are units. Those are units squared. So the scale factor of your area is actually equal to the scale factor of your sides squared. It could also be equivalent to the scale factor of the perimeter squared, because these are both in units, and areas in units squared. So you would have to square the sides which are in units, to get units squared. Or you'd have to square the perimeter, which is in units, to get units squared, or the scale factor of the area. This is the point of today's lesson. If you understand this, you're good to go. Because maybe I'll tell you that you have a figure. I tell you that in this figure, we don't know what this side is. This is figure A. In figure B, we have a larger figure, and I tell you that your perimeter is 45. And this side is 20. Then I tell you that your scale factor from A to B, remember if I just say scale factor, I'm talking about the sides, is 5. So I want you to figure out the value of x, and I want you to find me the perimeter of A. So do that for me right now. Now that you're back, here's what you should have done, or could have done. If you know that to go from A to B, you have to multiply by 5, then to go from B to A, you have to multiply by, you have to multiply by 1/5. So in this case, the scale factor from B to A is 1/5. Well, what's 1/5 of 20? That just gives me 4. So the side of x equals 4. And if I want to find the other perimeter, then I do the same thing, because the scale factor of my sides is the same thing as the scale factor of my perimeter. And I get 1/5 of 45, and that gives me 9. And there you have it. We have our answers. It's exactly what we were looking for. So how about this next problem? Let's say that I give you, that's a really ugly box. Let's say that I give you this box and I label this A. I give you a bigger box and I label this B. And let's say that I tell you that the area of A equals 6 units squared, and that the area of B equals 24 units squared, and that this side over here is 8, and that its corresponding side in A is x. So figure out two things for me. One, what's the scale factor? Let's say going from B to A. And then what is x? Well, first thing I need to do is figure out what's the scale factor of my area going from B to A. In order to do that, I need to take my two areas. So I'm going to go 6 over 24, and I'm going to reduce that to 1/4. So I know that whatever I multiply, that I would have to multiply 1/4 by 24 to get 6. Well, if 1/4 is a scale factor of my area, what's the scale factor of my sides? Now I have to figure out what the square root is. Now I have to figure out what the square root is, or what times itself gives me 1/4. Think about it. What times itself gives me 4? 2. So scale factor here has to be 1/2, because 1/2 times 1/2 gives me 1/4. So if the scale factor going from B to A is 1/2 for my sides, then if this side is 8, then this side needs to be what? How do I get that? 8 times, what's my scale factor, my sides? 1/2, and that's going to give me 4. So x equals 4. And there's my answer. And that's about it for perimeter and area. This was a good intro. You'll have work on this to do. This can get confusing. I understand. Please look back at the video and understand what the correlation is between scale factor of your sides versus scale factor of the perimeter versus scale factor of the area. Okay, they all have a big relationship. It's like a big scale factor love triangle. Anyways, again, if you have any questions, let me know. We can work through this and work on this together, okay? So again, email me or ask in class. Thanks.